You're watching Leafs Morning Take with host Nick Alberga and former NHLer Jay Rosehill. The show starts now.
Away we go, Wednesday edition. It's October 15th. Nick Alberga, Jay Rosehill, Leafs Morning Take presented by Bet365. You can exhale. You can exhale. It's amazing in short order in less than 24 hours. Sky's no longer falling. Just a much-needed victory for the Maple Leafs last night, Rosie. How are you?
I'm doing good. Yeah, it's better doing these shows on days like today. It's just, again, just the effort and the compete level is higher. The win is obviously nice. It's not always about wins and losses, but to be honest, this team, when it competes at the highest level and has everyone on board, they win games. So I think that's what's frustrating about some of the losses and, back-to-back losses to the Red Wings. So great to get on the same track yesterday. Pretty convincing win where, one hiccup maybe at the beginning of the second, but overall a pretty solid Toronto Maple Leafs game. I think that's what they're trying to emulate every single night.
Man, the utter chaos already in this division. We're a week in officially here on this Wednesday. Is just insane. Brady Tkachuk out at least 4 weeks. That's a massive loss for Ottawa. Massive hit for my chances of winning my bet of Ottawa winning the Atlantic Division. Not looking great. If you talk about teams rising up without their star player, I have my doubts about the Ottawa Senators. They're in tough. Buffalo stinks again. Detroit had a good time against the Maple Leafs. It just shows you, how long the season is and how quickly it can change too, right? Where you have all these aspirations of a big, bright season literally a week ago, and now everything's on its head, I think.
Yeah, I think your bet was cooked the moment it left your lips with the Senators winning the division, but that
really
doesn't help them losing Brady. To get surgery on something like 4 weeks goes by pretty damn quick, man. I would lean towards 6, but again, depending on what it is, I don't have any information on that. I'm just saying, man, that to be playing full tilt the way he plays at 4 weeks after surgery, yeesh, I'll believe it when I see it, and good for him if he can do it. But that's a huge knock to them. I know you look at the Rangers in the other division too, like, what's going on over there? So Barkov's not around, but and we got Joseph Woll problems. So yeah, lots happening early on in the season. But to me, it was rectifying the problem from the weekend with, their lackluster, not just results, but efforts against a team that, I'm sorry, you should beat them. You just should. You could say they got goalied, this, that, the other thing, but they simply did not play the way they played last night. Much better, not quite 60-minute effort, but much better effort from a lot of the guys. And the big guys came up big when they needed to as well.
Yeah, I said that last night on After Dark. It wasn't a complete effort, but by the game, they're getting better and better and stronger and putting more of a complete effort out there on the ice. But we'll get into the game in mere moments. Just wanted to bring up the fact that your former teammate, current Nashville Predators analyst Hal Gill is going to drop by Skillsy in about 25 minutes from now.
Skill racks. Yeah, we'll see what he has to say about him. Pick his brain a little bit. He is the man for the Nashville Predators. So, yeah, obviously, I don't know if you'd call that a thumping, a little bit of one, but we'll see what he saw yesterday, see what they got in store for themselves and what he thinks of the old Toronto Maple Leafs after giving them a good hard look yesterday. So looking forward to that.
Our Super Chat partner is Sick Kids. Want to make sure that your question or comment gets on the show. Hit us up with a Super Chat. Proceeds from Super Chat will go to Sick Kids, ranked the #1 research-intensive children's hospital in Canada and 3rd in the world at the Leafs Nation 401 on YouTube. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Leafs Morning Take, wherever you find your podcast, make sure to leave us a 5-star review. And don't forget to visit theleafsnation.com. This opening segment is brought to you by Simply Spiked. Tried the 3 different flavors, lemonade, peach, limeade, one of which being the OG Classic, and the newest flavor, of course, a limeade. But looking forward to having a couple of these over the weekend, Rosie.
Yeah, sure. Tasty. I know I am fully aware that summer is over, but never a dull time to have one of those. I had them on Thanksgiving, so away we go.
Love that. Simply Spiked has been bringing the juiciness since launching in Canada in 2023. Must be legal drinking age. Please celebrate responsibly. Pick up Simply Spiked at your local liquor store for your next hangout. So a much-needed victory here for the Maple Leafs. Where do you want to start? I guess we can start with Nylander. Much better. I safe to say you're happier with the effort here in this one?
100%. I mean, people were getting on me over the video we released yesterday where I was just saying it's just simply not good enough. Like, to be lazy and to be tuned out and visibly checked out during a National Hockey League game when you're a leader on a team like this. I didn't think it's acceptable, and it's not to anybody, and it shouldn't be to him either. But we know if he's just not capable of doing anything else, well, we don't even want him on the team, but we know that's not him. We just know what his ceiling is. So to see him kind of half-ass it out there leads to frustration, especially when it's a part of some frustrating losses. But boom, here comes Willie Nylander last night. He looked dynamic. He looked poised. He looked driven. The total opposite of the things that he was in those Detroit games. And I think he was a huge part of getting the win and having that team stay on track. And, a little bit of a stutter step at the beginning of the second period. Chief calls a timeout. No. And every time Willie was out there again, he's buzzing. He's charging. He looks like he is driven to make a difference in the game, which was not the case in those Detroit games. So he looked big. He looked dynamic. He didn't even have a shot for the first half of the game, but stuck with it, was doing other things that were standing out. And 100% he flipped the script. And I fully expected him to as well. And you did too, as you picked him to have the over on the shot prop, which he nailed handily, even though he didn't get the shots going until the second half of the game. So a nice response from Nylander too, solved a lot of problems that were pretty apparent through those Detroit games.
I think the underrated part of that game actually was the timeout that Chief called after Nashville came out of nowhere and just scored 2 goals. Like, it just felt like they were out of the game, and then 2 goals, bing, bang, just like that, and it was a 2-2 game. But AC Parker, 13, writes in, great timeout by Chief. The Leafs' second periods have been awful this season so far. Glad that woke them up. But it's something as little as that to get the team going, right?
Yeah, for sure. And, it's tough to waste your time out at that point in the game. You usually reserve those for, late in the game or a goalie pull or a face-off situation. But Chief felt the need to do it there. And it was well-timed because they do struggle with the beginning of the second periods. I think it was 2 goals in 45 seconds or something like that. Takes the wind right out of your sails, and Chief called him over and said, listen up, we're not going down this road. We know what we're capable of. The first period was the formula. Now we're getting back to playing our style of hockey. Don't let this slip. And it's just a little reset button. It's like literally taking the Nintendo cartridge out, blowing on it, and throwing it back in, and there it is. It's working again. And that's exactly what happened because, it was a bit of a stutter step there. I don't know if mentally they're not in it or they rest on their laurels a little bit. I mean, I know they blew that game on the Saturday against the Red Wings, 2-goal lead, exactly the same as they had in this one. It was like, no, we're not going back to that. Refresh your minds, get back to playing Maple Leaf hockey, the stuff that they're talking about day in and day out. And they did exactly that and rectified the situation. So a great timeout by Chief. That's exactly what you want when you do call one of those in the middle of the game.
Gareth writes in, the response was good. We concur with you on that front, Gareth. By the way, Berube, after the game on Willie, saying Willie drove the line. He did what he does. I was happy with the line. I thought they were very impactful tonight, and I tend to agree with that statement by the head coach too. But I want to ask you too, what would you think of that? I think it was in the second period. You can hear on the live mic Nylander bitching out his teammates a bit. It reminded me of the Amazon series last year. Quit whining, bro.
I don't know if that was confirmed. He was bitching to his teammates just as much as just frustration. I mean, he had a scoring chance right there with his hands. I mean, the puck feels like a feather, and somehow it just literally rolled over his stick and barely even noticed he went to fire a puck that wasn't there. And I think that's frustrating to a player like him, something he's not used to. I think it was more of that than anything, but I didn't see it as him bitching at his players as much as just frustration from a play, which I want that. I don't think you would have got that the previous 2 games because he just wasn't that passionate about the game he was playing. You could see it with his actions. Again, I'm a big body language guy and facial expression guy, and I don't think he was in the game enough to get mad at anything. So the fact that he's fired up and pissed off, I like Willie like that. That's when he's at his best.
But what the hell happened is my question going from the Detroit game to the Nashville game. It's unique and crazy to me that you need your head coach to call you out, and that somehow finds a way to get you cooking and going. But I thought he was great in that game. It's the star players, right? I think this is the way they act. I think, there's going to be moments like this. We see it throughout the league, whether it's Nathan McKinnon or others, where these guys demand so much out of not only themselves, but their teammates. And you're going to see acts like that. That's why, And you can speak to this. I think this happens a lot more in rooms and benches than people think, right? It was like an afterthought as soon as it happened in the game, but I noticed that. And it struck me as a guy early on in the game who was really fighting it. Like, as you mentioned, you don't really see Nylander lose the puck the way he did with a prime chance to score a goal. And that's what happened on that play.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, it's as simple as you hit a rut in the ice and it just puts the puck end over end at the worst time right over your stick. I mean, that's really all it was as he's corralling the puck. And I mean, you're used to seeing those guys have it on a string. So,
Yeah.
Go watch me stick handle out there and you'll see the puck, leave the blade of the stick quite often when you're not trying to. He's not as used to it as most guys, but whatever, you're yelling again. It's fire and it's passion. I don't even know what he said or if the mics caught it clearly, but Johnson on the broadcast decided that was about not getting the puck at the right time. I don't know if that's fully it. I believe it was just frustration from kind of blowing that play or having a bad bounce. But to me, Willie's going to have more of a spotlight on him this year. So is Austin, as a lot of people called Mitch the whipping boy, and some of the stuff he did out there that, when the Leafs weren't having success, it was easy to point at it. And now that's gone. So it's going to be easier to look at the other guys. They are the drivers of the team now, and we know what their ceiling is. And there's a lot of guys that, do everything in their bloody power to play at the highest level of their potential that they're possibly capable of every single day. And sometimes that's just to be a mediocre player in the NHL. And then you got these guys with the talent coming out of their ears, and there's no doubt about it what their ceiling is. And then when you see Willie play a couple of games that he did, it pisses you off because it's like how good could you be and how beneficial to the team could you be if you decided to work as hard and put as much into it as that guy that's kind of a mediocre player in the league with all your skill. And guys sometimes rely on their skill a little bit, and Willie's got that lackadaisical attitude sometimes, and sometimes it's endearing. It's part of his personality. I fully get it, but as much as it is great to see him bounce back and have a good game and drive the line, as Chief says last night, you just don't want to see it be a yo-yo where he decides when he's going to show up. It's just, consistency is huge. Setting an example is huge. And, let's be honest, more often than not, he is solid and giving it his all. But to start the season, and especially after the Saturday loss with back-to-backs against the Red Wings, where you think you're going to see his best, and it was even worse maybe as far as an effort standpoint, something he's 100% in control of. I want to see that less and less with this team, and I imagine Craig Berube is cut from the same cloth because you mentioned the McKinnons, and we'll talk to Skillsy about what it takes to win a Stanley Cup. You don't have those guys that are like, maybe I'll show up today, maybe I won't. It doesn't exist, and I think that's one thing. If you could criticize Willie about anything, it's maybe getting that out of his repertoire.
And we got to give Willie more credit. I mean, this has been an evolving story from early on in his career, but from consistency standpoint, more times than not, you know what you're getting from Willie. Like, it's changed a lot in the last couple of years. He's turned into from a star player into a superstar player, in my opinion. And I think more efforts and more times than not, he's really engaged and really into the game. There's a couple games a year where you can tell he's not really there, like he's actually physically there, but mentally he's checked out, and maybe it's happening early on in the season, but a bounce back effort. I thought in general that second line as a collective with Michelli, Tavares, and Nylander were dialed. I mean, to me, that was the big story in the game, is finding a way to get that second line going. The top six in general, that was a great story, but that line specifically with Michelli were cooking big time last night, Rosie.
Yeah, they were. And we talked when we made these acquisitions of these new players, Michelli being one of them, that this might take some time to find the chemistry and to figure out who's going where. And everybody had their ideas of who's playing with who. And we brought this guy in to play with this guy. It's like, well, we'll see. And it's game 4. And it already looks different than everybody thought it was going to look like all summer long. I mean, Cowan's on the top line. Michelli's playing with that line that no one even considered him playing on, and it looks good. So it just goes to show you don't know where the chemistry is going to be and who's going to click. And a player like Michelli, I think it takes a little bit longer to get used to it and to understand where you're going to go. He's a player that is a pass first mentality. He's got very good vision. And John Tavares even talked about it in the intermission. He goes, just, continuing to get reps playing with this guy to figure out where he is and what he likes to do. Players with hockey IQ as high as John Tavares and these guys, they want to know what's happening at all times and be on the same page as their line mates. And sometimes that takes some time, and sometimes it's not with the guys that you might expect you're going to click with. But there's an example where a Michelli and a Nylander and a Tavares, I mean, on paper, that looks like a pretty dynamic line. And if they continue to find each other like that and make plays and be a threat out there, then they're going to play together. And I think that, it doesn't matter who it is, who the names are. If you're finding lines that are clicking like that, you're going to roll with them. And it's great to see, because it was a matter of time before some of these guys started to click and find chemistry with each other. And if it's him on that line, I think that's great. I think he needs to be in the top 6 and be a force out there.
Meantime, Austin Matthews on pace for 41 empty net goals this season. He scores another empty netter. He scores on a goalie as well, used to Sandin, so that was great news. But I think the most telling thing is that he looks healthy, like on his shot. He's not deterring like he did last year at bits and pieces, and he looks healthy and engaged. Man, this is great stuff. And by the game, I think he's getting better and better. Is that your read as well?
Yeah, I think so. When he scores that goal, this one we're watching here, for nice to go back to him there, just unbelievable. Man. The look on his face it's a big smile, and he looks back, he goes, "Oh, Cowie got it on that one," and he goes, "Get over here, kid." And he's showing this exuberance, and he's showing this personality that I don't think we saw a lot last year. I think he was in kind of a stone face. Is what you saw when he was having success and scoring. It was just kind of like a yep, got it, yep, tap the gloves, go off. You didn't get anything out of him. He didn't have that exuberance to him. And I think it was because he was hurting, man. Like something was hurting, and he knew he was kind of, I'm not going to say a shell of himself, but he didn't have access to everything he's capable of. And it was that story all year long. And we know that he's sneaking off to see specialists in Europe. Like, let's get serious. This guy is struggling with some physical ailment. By all accounts, that seems to be better now, and you can almost see it on his face and in his body language and the way he's handling himself out there. He looks better, and I don't even think this is near his ceiling. I think if he catches fire, look out, he's going to win games himself, just throwing the team on his back, just doing the dynamic things he does with the puck, and specifically just putting it in the net.
Great for Easton Cowan, too. I love this quote from Craig Berube. He's a dog on a bone out there for me. That's a welcome sight. 2 games now in the NHL. Picks up his first point in Apple on Matthews' first of 2 in the game. But I think it's safe to say Cowan's going nowhere anytime soon.
I wouldn't think so, man. I mean, again, this isn't throwing him a bone by letting him have this opportunity. It's him earning it. And then, okay, you do throw him the bone, and what does he do with it? He makes the most of it. And I thought even on the 4th line, if Cowan's making the team better, he's going to stay there. And it doesn't matter if he's young. It doesn't matter if he has the inexperience. It doesn't matter if they're talking about his development. They're going, we're better with you here than with you down. And it's not hurting you to play in the NHL and to benefit a team. So you're going to stick around. And nobody knew if that was going to happen or not, or if he was going to struggle, or if there was going to be some mental blunders or some turnovers or some opportunities where he should have made the right play and he makes the OHL play, which, can blow up in your face in the NHL. None of that has been going on. And my favorite thing about it is his compete level is through the roof. Just ISO cam him and watch how hard he's working. Even if he knows he's got a back check, he'll finish that hit, which some guys don't do it because you want to keep your momentum and not burn out your legs. When you hit a guy, it takes a lot out of you. You come to a dead stop and you got to, get your whole body moving back to full speed again on a back check. Most guys just swoop through that and say, yeah, screw it. But he's hitting everything. He's moving his legs like crazy, and he's capable of making plays. And they're the smart ones too. It's not like, yeah, those 2 plays were nice, but then that third one, was turned the other way in a big hurry, and it was a chance against. He's not showing any of that. So as long as that continues, he's going to stay on that line. I'm not sure if it's going to be there all year. I'm not going to make any bold predictions. Things change in a hurry, especially with a young player. But he started off on the right foot, and he's riding that wave for sure.
He really is a unicorn, too, when you look at him, because he's a smaller guy, small in stature, but he can play physical. He's got really good hands. You saw the feed there to Matthews. We've seen it a couple times now. He can finish. He's got speed. This is exactly what you want from this type of player in this type of role. That's why I look at him as a unicorn. I know it's early on, and we'll see down the road if he's continuing to finish his hits and play with that physical snarl, but this is a welcome sight, something this team needed, I felt.
Yeah, I like his his style of play in the sense that, yes, there's high skill there, and a lot of it leads to chances and puck possession and ozone time, but he does it with like such intensity that it's not the stuff that drives especially Leafs fans crazy, where it's wide-legged, flat-footed, let me wait, and then just sauce this thing through a bunch of bodies onto the tape, which looks nice when it happens. The whole crowd goes, whoa. But that's not his game. It's work your nuts off, chip it, go get it, hit that guy, turn it over, and then when it's on your stick and you have time and space, you're making those high end plays. So it's a nice mix of everything to me. It's not the kind of stuff that's like, yeah, but wait till this blows up in his face and it's in the back of your net, which we've had players in town that have that mentality where, yeah, you get on the score sheet a lot, but my God, like when it matters, that kind of shit doesn't really fly. It's that there's none of that in his game really. And it's responsible. It's hard nosed. It's all the stuff Craig Berube likes. And guess what? It's all the kind of shit you need in the playoffs that this team has lacked in the playoffs. Now, I'm not saying that he's going to drive this team or be the difference maker in the playoffs, but the more of that identity that we have on the team, the better. And I think that's why they drafted you, because it's so hard to find a player with enough skill to even be considered in the top 6 of an NHL team who's going to work their nuts off like that. Usually those guys are like, yeah, but God, I wish he just had some dog in him. And here it is, his head coach calling him, describing him like a dog on the bone, which is 100% what this team needs.
Can't forget either, Dale Hunter's the head coach, pretty much runs the operation there with his brother in London, and he's tight with Chief. There has had to have been a lot of communication over the last couple of years in terms of what he's looking for from Easton Cowan, what he wants him to work on. And I think it's a very underrated part of this story. But I want to get your reaction to the Ozzy Weisblatt play where he just sort of throws Cowan into the post. Was that a dirty play in your opinion? Do you want the NHL to look at that? I wasn't crazy about that. A vulnerable position and chucks him. I don't know if he was ready for that either.
Oh no, that's as greasy as it gets. I mean, I don't know how you like 100%. Like it was leaning on your skates, throwing your shoulder up, throwing all your weight into the guy, and there is nowhere for him to go. He's going to that far post to cut that play off, and there's nowhere for him to go but straight into the post. Now, Weisblatt was all over the place. He is a little rat, and I kind of respected a guy of that size playing that hard and stirring the pot that much. But to just bury a guy in his second NHL game right into the post, like the way Cowan watch, the way he falls into that, man, that could have injured him in a plethora of ways. So I don't know. I'm never a guy to ask the league to step in. Like, what's that going to change? The dangerous thing already happened. I'd grab Weisblatt next time you can and do something that frickin' hurts him without getting a suspension yourself. But 100% that was greasy. I could give a shit if the league looks at it or not. It doesn't change anything.
Tammy is pissed Samantha in the chat about the lack of response. I know Tanev got in there. I saw Matthews go like that, the old Mitch Marner special, but did you like the reaction after something like that? Like, this is a second game in a row or a third game in a row. Couple liberties.
Yeah, I know. I would like to see a Dakota Joshua go grab that guy by the collar and get nose to nose with him, that type of thing. It doesn't seem to really be ingrained in this team very hard. Again, it's always Austin Matthews. It's the first guy there, and he's kind of the last guy you want flying in there. Again, no one expects you to spring load your shit and start feeding a guy. But let it be obvious that you saw that, you take exception to it and get your face right in there. Like if Austin just went flying in there and got visor to visor and said, "Are you fucking kidding me? You know what's going to happen?" and just started letting them have it, then it would be like, yeah, no one's going to put up with that. But it's kind of like, oh, I'll go for a skate and, oh, did anyone see that? And is he getting a penalty? And, yeah, it's not enough. I wish it was further. And you don't want guys taking penalties and evening it up and being dumb and taking your team's opportunity and just blowing it up by taking a retaliatory penalty. But 100%, I think there's a hell of a lot more room there to get in there and show that, that's my teammate and we stick together and we don't put up with that shit. But I guess I've just written off the fact that that's just not in Austin's DNA. He doesn't have a lot of physical snarl like that. He can physically use his body and be protecting the puck and all that. But as far as getting in a guy's face aggressively, I don't think he's got an ounce of that in him. And I've just resigned to the fact that it's not going to be there with him.
Man, I truly feel the telltale sign will be against a team like Florida. Like, I get it. Maybe it's Nashville. Like, what do you have to prove to that team? It's Detroit. They're not going to be in the playoffs. But if you play a team like Florida and they take liberties like that on Cowan and you're not responding, I think there's big time problems. But let's be honest. Let's keep this in our memory. I mean, early on in this season, that the response hasn't been there. There hasn't really been a physical nature. Like we've talked a lot the last couple of years under Craig Berube, a physical, hard in the forecheck type team, and they've been chasing it so far. So you give them the benefit of the doubt, but what happens if a Sam Bennett takes a liberty on like a Cowan or somebody like that who's like a rival? Like I just wonder, I want to see a bit of a pushback, and I like that a guy like Tanev got in there, but that was a dirty play, and maybe the guys didn't see it. Maybe they're looking at the ref. I don't know, but not crazy.
But no, but you get a reputation. I mean, it doesn't take long to
Yeah.
play in a division where you start to know who's going to put up with shit and who's not. And it's so
True.
fun to play with a team where you know that anyone on the ice, is going to see something like that. They're not going to do anything. They're going to pretend like they didn't see it. They're going to turn their back. They're going to look at the ref. And it's just like, all right, well, if I get a chance to really give it to somebody or to get that extra shot in, there's not going to be any repercussions. And that's just like a subconscious thing where when you're going into a barn and you got that heavy team that puts up with nothing, that's got a bunch of guys that'll chomp at the bit to get in your face if you try to take a liberty or even look like you're taking advantage of the team. In the back of your mind, you just might not bother doing it, right? And again, the reputation of the Leafs is definitely a little bit softer, and I think we tried to rectify that this year with some of the guys, but I don't think they've had the opportunity to respond in a way that maybe people would want. But again, you saw it in the face-off on the Prime series. Other teams saying, you guys are scared, you guys are soft, you guys, like, they have a reputation of that. And if I could snap my fingers and have all the big boys have a little bit more snarl and a little bit more to chuck, or even Nathan McKinnon, just a pissed off factor, I would certainly take it. And I think there's room for them to get better in that area. I don't know if that's something you can develop or get better at. But I guess we'll see, because it seems to be the same thing we've seen for years and years. And hopefully the pieces that they added can maybe take care of that a little bit more in the future, because I don't want Austin flying in there all the time. But it seems to be, whether it's Nyes or Cowan or whoever's on his line, seems to get advantage taken of them. He doesn't have much of a response.
Yeah, I think the reaction's attached stronger too, because it's the new puppy, right? Like this is your pup. You got to protect it. This is Easton Cowan game 2 in his NHL career, and there really isn't a response. And that's why there's a bit of a bewilderment out there at the Leafs Nation 401. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We're about 5 minutes away here from Hal Gill dropping by the show, but I want to get your thoughts quickly on Cayden Primo. His Maple Leafs debut, 4 goals on 30 shots. I didn't think he was terrible. I think he was adequate enough to get the win. That's all you need from your backup goalie. I mean, this is not like, to think that he's going to be Joseph Wall and be just on par with Stolarz. That's not a reasonable expectation, but I think he made some good stops in the game.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny because they were talking about, the difference in his numbers between the American League and the National League. And yeah, it's a better league, but you're not going to find another goalie with that big of a disparity between their numbers between leagues. And to me, that says that mentally he kind of overthinks it, or he gets worked up, or maybe a little bit nervous. He admitted that he was really nervous before that game. It's not very often you get a goalie admit that, but it's understandably so. I dealt with that stuff too, overthinking things and getting a little bit grippy of the stick. And I think at that level, that says exactly why his numbers are considerably worse than what I think he's capable of. So the fact that he got the win is huge. I didn't think he was phenomenal by any stretch. And again, if the offense wasn't flying for the Leafs and you let in 4 and he lost 4-2, we'd be talking about why this dog shit goalie is here instead of Hildeby, right? Like, let's be honest, he didn't do anything to wow us, but yeah, got the win. That's great. I like the fact that it will build his confidence and get a win under his belt. But to me, that isn't a defining factor of, he's our guy behind Anthony Stolarz. It's not. At this point, if that's what he does right there, I'm totally open to giving Hildeby a shot at some point in time. And I don't know if they'll cross that bridge or not, but again, I'm kind of just neutral on it, like an 8.7 save percentage. What do you want me to say about it? It was okay. Luckily, they scored 7 goals ahead of him, so his 4 goals that he let in were good enough to win. That's great. Sometimes in the league, you just got to be good enough to win. But if he's going to be the backup long term, I'd like to see a performance that stands out a little bit better than that one.
Man, I'm still stewing over the Yossi goal. Like, the Leafs are not drawing penalties. I don't know if it's because Holmberg's gone, but they've drawn 8 penalties in 4 games. They've had 8 power plays, 0 for 8. That's a sidebar story for me. But it's like, how do you not call that? And obviously it leads to goal at the other end, man. Like, that should have never happened. It was a clear hold from Yossi to Matthews. They didn't call it. They come down, they score. Just shit like that pisses me off, man.
I know, but you can follow any team in the NHL, and you're going to have examples of that. Every team honestly thinks it's more their team. Like, literally, I know Montreal Canadiens.
Did you know Chicago's at 27 penalties against or something like that? Like, it's like times 3 of what the Maple Leafs have had. Like, it's insane.
Yeah, that is wild. That is wild. But again, a Montreal Canadian fan will tell you the same thing. An Edmonton Oilers fan will tell you the same thing. There's a lot of teams that believe that's the case. And when you care passionately about a team, you're going to see the missed calls against them a lot. But no, the numbers, they are not highly penalized. But are you going to draw penalties playing the way they did against Detroit? No, that was perimeter stuff, and that was, you got to work your nuts off to get the calls, and you got to be moving your feet like crazy. And I think they'll come. And again, everyone thinks their team is overlooked by the referees, but yeah, that's an example of them missing one for sure. Obviously, Austin was pissed about it. He usually keeps quiet about the ref and doesn't bring anything up, and he was kind of losing his mind there. So whatever, they missed one, and yeah, it's obviously frustrating when it ends up in the back of your net. But I don't dwell on that shit that you can't control. I don't think they should either.
At the Leafs Nation 401, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button as you bring in your former teammate, 2009 Stanley Cup champion, marvelous NHL career, now an analyst with the Nashville Predators. It's Hal Gill. Skillsy, how are you? Thanks for doing this.
I'm fantastic. Just got to Montreal after a game in Toronto, and, Montreal's fun. Toronto's fun. There's good spots.
Not bad towns, eh? You're no stranger to making the most of the towns you visit, are you, Skillsy?
Absolutely. I got good dinner plans tonight. I'm excited about it.
Love it. Hey, man, what your Preds, obviously wanting to build on have a little better season than they did last year. What was your take last night on their performance and obviously the Maple Leafs as well?
I thought that game was fun. I thought it was fast. Back and forth action, some good plays. The game, the Preds just came off a game in Ottawa, a win that was just sloppy. It was slow. I feel like every face-off, the refs got just throwing guys out, and it just dragged the game along. A lot of penalties, and the Preds just kind of ground it out. Like, they just ground and pound, just found a way to get a win. And last night, it was a different game. Fast. Toronto was playing fast. And I think, I think their home opener, right? They were buzzing. And the Preds just kind of, it got away from them a little bit. They tried to keep up, but, last night, I think Toronto was a better team.
What do you think the turning point was in that game?
There's a lot of them. It was like down 2-0, and it was after the first, and the Preds found a way to get back into it. They had a good second period and got right into it. And then I think what the turning point was, the big stars came to play. Tavares, that guy hasn't lost a step, huh? He looks good. It's fun watching him. And Matthews, Nylander did some stuff that you don't see too often. There's at one point he was skating up the ice. He blew right up through the neutral zone. He fell down. He was on both knees. He picked up the puck and dangled the guy while he was on his knees, and then ripped through the neutral zone. I think that speed, that was ultimately what kind of got the Preds and put them on their heels. And, a couple goals that used to send and then probably want back and a little sloppy. But, I think it was a close game right to the end, even though the score didn't show it.
Yeah, agreed. Now, I'm curious, from the outside looking in, we put a magnifying glass on this team every day, but from your perspective, is that what people think of the Leafs? They got some high-end skill that can do some things, or what is their identity from the outside looking in?
For me, I'm going into that game going, all right, what do they do without Marner? That's the big story, I think. I think they're probably a better bottom six, right? I think they're stronger. They're a little heavier. I think they got some young kids. That Cowan kid is fun to watch, huh? I mean, he
Oh, yeah.
battles, he competes. I just think they have to change their identity a little bit. I think they're good on the back end. I like their back end. I think that's going to be more playoff true. I like some of the additions that they made over the years because I feel like that was the weakness. But I was looking at who's Matthews going to play with. Without Marner, Marner kind of puts it on a tee, and I think he's going to do that with Eichel this year. So I think that was the question I had, but they kind of answered that last night. I mean, Matthews was going and making plays, and Tavares stepped up, and I think their bottom six played hard.
We weren't crazy about the Weisblatt hit on Cowan, but I'm glad you brought up the kid because that was his second NHL game. And can you just speak to the importance of like when a new pup comes into the room like Cowan, just really fresh and green faced and just 20 years of age, the importance of guys around him showing him the ropes and showing him the league and responding for him.
Yeah, no, I think that's it's kind of funny. We had Brady Martin, 5th overall pick for the Preds, and 18 years old, and he's taking it all in. He's just smiles everywhere he goes. He played the first 2 games and then sat out these 2 road games, and they're just kind of managing how he grows, how he becomes an NHLer, and it's tough. Like I remember Joe Thornton was my teammate, and like my rookie year, he was a rookie. He's 18 years old, and he played 5 minutes on the 4th line. He was playing with Ken Baumgartner, and they went out there and mucked it up for their 5 minutes, and Joe would get in a fight, and it wasn't his skill game that we all know Joe Thornton for, but he had to break in the league like that. And now you got, Brady Martin was centering O'Reilly and Forsberg, and Cowan is playing on the top line. He's playing against the best defenseman in the league. It's really hard for these guys to kind of learn the game, but they have to learn it in a skilled top 6 position, and that's the way they're doing it. I think you have to hold his hand a little bit, but also they got to step up and show that they can do it, and not just for a couple games, but over the season. There's ups and downs, and there's your confidence is high, and then it falls off, and then you're super intense. Like, what do you do on an off night in nowhere? You're playing against a team that's not very good. Can you bring it then? Can you bring it on the big games? Can you match the intensity of a speed game? And so I think is a lot that needs to be learned, but I think teams are so patient now with these young guys, and they have to be, because in 2 years, 3 years, they're going to make 7-8 million over 8 years. And so they got to put their feet in the water.
Yeah, and playoff performance is a big thing too that I think some of these younger guys struggle with at times. And speaking of which, you've won a Stanley Cup, and you know what that looks like. The Maple Leafs window to win is now, and this is the time that they need to try to make some hay. And what is it that team that you were on, Pittsburgh Penguins in 2009? What's kind of that X factor that makes you that team? Obviously, Sidney Crosby is there, but the identity of the team and how everyone bought in. What can you say about that?
I the more and more I look at it, and the more I kind of learn about the game, the more I see that, like, you need your horses to get you there, right? It was like in Pittsburgh 2009, it's Crosby and Malkin, Sergei Gonchar. Like, we had horses, Letang, like big players. Fleury was awesome in goal. You need goaltending, obviously, but hey, Game 7 in Detroit, and who is our hero? Is Max Talbot, and no one saw that coming, and he scored 2 goals. You need other guys to step up, and now I look at it, you need to blend. It's really hard, and I see GMs trying to time it, like where you can get, like, is this Cowan going to be legit? Can he contribute in a playoff game? Can he get you that win? Can he get you that big goal? Can he make that big play? Do you have the role players to kill the penalties when you need it? Because the power play is going to be huge. If you want to beat, Edmonton, you got to stop their power play somehow. They can just roast you. McDavid and Draisaitl will buzz. And so if you want to win a cup, you have to have all those facets in. And with a salary cap, you need to match it with your young talent, with the veteran guys. It's just so hard to do. And I think the big separator is what Florida is doing, is their grind guys are their stars. Like you have Bennett and Marchand and Barkov is a beast. Like they're not soft, but they're skilled as hell, and they make you pay. And I think Preds are coming to Montreal and watching a team that's fast as hell. Like looking at I'm watching some of the film, and it's like Hudson is buzzing out there, and Caulfield and Demidov and like all these guys are awesome, and they're so fast. Can they be those impact players when it matters in the playoffs? I think that's what you're looking for. And can you balance that salary cap with veterans and young guys?
You referenced it earlier on. It was a big night as well for Toronto's back end. OEL, a vintage performance. Jake McCabe scores. Morgan Riley's been.
Why was he so pissed off? I've never seen OEL like that. Have you?
I know.
Is that what he does now?
We actually had him on the show.
Yeah,
we had him on the show a couple weeks ago, and he told us he had his dark side. So
yeah, I like it because I feel like, am I wrong? Was I reading him wrong for a long time? Like I feel like he was just like a skill guy. He's not soft, but he wasn't like he played with an edge. He was pissed off, and like I thought he was great. I mean, that's what I feel like. That's the message Chief is sending, right? Is go out there and man up and play hard. That's what he wants. And I was impressed with OEL. Like that backside, I think, is legit. I was impressed with them.
Well, yeah, he's I think he's one of those guys, exactly like you say. He realizes there's a need on the team, and he's a veteran guy, and he's a guy that recognizes maybe I need to do things different. And so many guys get narrow-minded, and this is what I do, and that's the end of the story. I think you'd be wise to look around the league and say, what's successful right now? What is this team lacking, and what can I do to help? And he seems like one of those guys. And the pressure in Toronto, like you played in Toronto as the Maple Leafs. What was your take on it compared to the other markets that you played? And I always like to ask guys that, like, do you notice a concise difference between that market and others?
Yeah, 100%. I feel like they can build you up and they can tear you right down. And if you listen to them when they're building you up, then you think you're better than you are. And if you listen to them while they're tearing you down, you'll cry yourself to sleep every night. I think there's a lot of fans that really aren't paying attention, that just kind of bandwagon and jump on. One guy said you didn't play well, and so I'll go along with it. I feel like they swarm on you, and then the media jumps on top of it, and they just love to beat it to death. And so it's really hard to get away from. The media and the fans' reaction, and they've done it to too many guys, too many players that are good. What is it, Larry Murphy? I think they destroyed. Brian McCabe was one of the best teammates I ever had, and the media didn't like him for whatever reason, and I didn't understand it. I think that was the struggle in Toronto. I'm hoping that has changed a little bit. I feel like they're with the success that they've had, and maybe the lack of success in the playoffs, they roll over on the playoffs. But I feel like I'm hoping that changes around, because Toronto really does deserve something good. Like they deserve fans to be appreciative. You go to Pittsburgh, you lose 7-1, and they'll be cheering for you after the end of the game. Hey, we'll get them next time, guys. Let's go. We love you. They're right behind you, and you can bounce back. And in Toronto, that just doesn't happen.
Yeah, I'm not sure you had a beat on things, but literally 24 hours before you guys rolled in, the sky was falling after losing Detroit for back-to-back games.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Like, what are you going to do? Like I was saying before the game, is this a must-win for Toronto? The Leafs are 3 games in, and they have a must-win game. That's not fair. It's the expectations are too high. We were talking about Luke Schenn. Hey, Rosie, like Luke is one of the best. But he went into Toronto as a rookie, and he played awesome, right? And everyone loved him, and they're just pumping him up, and he's the best, and we love this guy. He's going to be the best defenseman. And they didn't let him fall into his role. Like they expected him to be this marquee defenseman. And, with all due respect to Luke, he wasn't that guy. He was a good, solid, and he still is as strong as an ox. He'll fight. He's like so important to a team, but he wasn't that guy. And they wanted that guy. and they just wouldn't let it go. I feel like, they tried to build him up into something he wasn't, and it's unreal expectations.
Yeah, in this market, like I notice when we get a guy who's coming off a hot career year and you had to pay out the ass to get him because he was the hot free agent, and then you expect to put him in Toronto, 1,000 microphones in his face, everyone's got the expectations, and you expect him to play in that market and be better than he was last year, which was maybe like the top of his potential, and it's just a recipe for disaster. So we try to be conscious of that on this show, but I also think that that we fall victim to it too, of keeping the expectations too high. And you go through it every single day with a fine-tooth comb, especially now when the time to win is now, and you think they're good enough, but they've faltered at all the wrong times, and you come in there and think you got the answers. It's tough balance for sure, and there's so many people doing it. Just the pure volume of media in Toronto is pretty much hard to ignore for those guys.
Yeah, no, I totally agree, and I think that's one of the things, because I hate to say it, Rosie, but hockey players are human, whether you want to admit it or not. Like, it affects you when you walk off the ice and you have a bunch of mics telling you that you're the best. You feel pretty good about yourself, when they tell you you're awful, it hurts, and you wear that, and it can be exhausting.
Very well said, my man. Appreciate it. Enjoy Montreal, okay?
I'll try as hard as I can to enjoy Montreal. Thank you.
Thanks, Gilsey. Good to see you again.
Cheers,
man.
guys. Thanks for having me on.
What a gem. Hal Gill covering the Nashville Predators down in Montreal. He's chucking that bag and right off to the bar he goes.
I don't know about bar, but he knows the spot. The wily veteran. I was just riding his coattails saying, where to? And he goes, I know a spot from back in the day. It's always fun. And as you can tell, he's an easy conversation, easy interview, easy guy to hang out with, and a great teammate as well, which is why he's been in the game so long and will probably be in the game as long as he wants to be. So we appreciate his time.
Made me laugh last night. I texted him just to confirm, and he's like, yep, live from Chez Paris. So I'm a little stunned he wasn't at Chez Paris for this interview today, but more so in his hotel room. But great insight. It's always great to hear the perspective of somebody like you who has played for this team, lived it in this market, and also the experience of covering a team in Nashville. Like, we were there last year. What a place to play hockey, eh?
Oh, unreal. So many great places, and so many great places. That when I was playing with him, we weren't playing very much. It was Berube that was actually scratching me so much, and he probably played 6 games that year. Like, let's scratch the whole season. It was really painful in that sense, but it was the year like after the lockout where it was mandatory to visit every single city in the league. And there's other times where you wouldn't hit the California coast, you wouldn't hit certain spots for certain teams, and that was the year you hit absolutely every single spot. So me and him just felt like we were hopping around North America, having pretty good fun when we weren't working, but we'd get our bag skate in, know we weren't playing, and go out and see the sights. So it was pretty awesome. But it's funny, he made me think, like, when I started doing this show, I was like, I am going to keep the player's perspective in mind, and I am a firm believer that the reason they haven't won a cup since '67 is because of the scrutiny and the media and the, just the pressure that is there. And I still believe it. And then sometimes I sit here and I go, well, I'm now part of it 100%. I'm hard on Willie Nylander yesterday, and I've been hard on Mitch Marner, but it's such a double-edged sword, like, are you going to do the job and be honest about it and say what you think? Because these guys are human, and nobody is perfect. If there was, there'd be a team that won every single year. But it's also your job to sit back and analyze and criticize and say, I think this is where we're short, and I think this guy needs to do more of that to have success. And it's just tough, man. And with so much going on around the team, it's easy to get caught up in it. And I wonder if it'd be easier, which it would be, just to follow Nashville and fucking talk about Nashville. And I mean, look at the disaster that they had last year. And most people are over it, and we'll see what happens this year. And it's just not the case with Toronto. But it's funny, man, walking that line, because you want to be fair and you want to be honest, and it's hard to balance both of those.
Yeah, and I always say, if you don't like the pressure, go play somewhere else like Vegas. That's. I mean, there's guys who embrace it. Nyes, Morgan Riley. There's been a boatload of others, or there's guys who don't want to embrace it. Schenner didn't want to be here. Ryan O'Reilly. I get it. I understand it's not for everybody, but I actually value guys more, and I love the guys who embrace it and want to win here.
Schenner did want to be here, but it was like a $2 million difference, man.
Yeah,
At the
so
twilight of his career, he couldn't turn it down. O'Reilly didn't seem to want to be here, but
taxes too.
100%. I mean,
Yeah,
comes down to how much money am I going to make the rest of my career? And you can't turn down $2 million. I don't know a single listener that's listening who would say, yeah, an extra
true.
$2 million, I'll stay put because I like the jersey. Like, it's not happening. But yeah, it's
They
funny.
screwed him a
It's good to
bit
get,
too. Yeah,
yeah, kind of. It was a bad cap
yeah,
time for it and was what it was.
yeah. Yeah, no, I was watching the game the other day and I almost forgot that Schenner's on Winnipeg. That's a good team too. It's cool to see Taves out there. You got Hellebuck, but yeah, I could see why he chose Nashville over Toronto, and I think it's important to clarify that as you did. The money, just something you can't say no to, and also that environment, a perfect place for a guy like Luke Schenn. Just unfortunate it didn't work out there now with the Winnipeg Jets. It's time for the Ninja Crispy Hot Take of the Week, brought to you by the Ninja Crispy 4-in-1 Portable Glass Air Fryer.
Meet the first of its kind. The Ninja Crispy Portable Cooking System. The power of a full-sized air fryer in the palm of your hand. So you can cook big or small batches. Just prep it, crisp it, serve it, and store it all in one.
This glass air fryer is PFSA free, thus no harmful chemical while cooking. It includes a small 6-cup and larger 4-quart Tupperware container. Whether you're whipping up quick single-serve meals in 7 minutes, sharing crispy snacks on the go, or serving a crowd, the Ninja Crispy makes it easy. Cleanup is simple. All accessories are dishwasher safe and designed to nest for easy storage. Check out the link in the episode description or go to sharkninja.ca. You ready for this hot take, Rosie, via producer Vic?
Hit me with this Vicky spicy hot take. I know he's full of them.
Cowboy is going to ride those horses for the rest of the season. The horses being Nyes and Matthews. Ooh.
Wow. And the connection, Cowboy, horses, get it? Vicky, hot as a pistol with that take. I love it. I don't love these because no one can predict the future, and the rest of the season is a long ways away. But based on what we've seen, I mean, Skillsy said it. Can you do it in December? And can you do it in the dog days? Can you do it against the shitty team? Can you do it when you're a little bit banged up or tired or on a back-to-back? That's going to be the deciding factor. But from everything we've seen today, I don't see why not. I think he complements them well. And he does exactly that. He complements them the way he works, and he's that dog on the bone. Like, they need that. And then Nyes right there with a lot of that mentality, power forward, unbelievable on the walls, can retrieve pucks as well. And then you got the hypersonic shooter behind it. But I mean, let me tell you, if Easton Cowan does ride these two guys for the season, and that's where he starts his NHL career, like, talk about starting it being shot out of a rocket launcher, like the opportunity and making the most of an opportunity. Unbelievable so far. So I guess I'll take it. I got to take it or leave it. I'm going to take it because from what I've seen so far, there's no reason to think that he can't. And I also love what it does to the rest of the lineup. As far as like Bobby McMahon playing on the third line, like, I don't need Bobby McMahon to be in the top 6. As thrilled as I am with him and all the things he looks like he can do. Imagine that there's a good enough top 6 where Bobby McMahon is on your third line. Like, that's the formula that we've been talking about that this team could be based on the changes they make. It's like, are you kidding me? Bobby McMahon and his skill set on the third line, you roll that out after those top 2 frickin' lines, and then like a Nicholas Waugh down on the fourth line with Scott Lawton. And are you fucking kidding? Now we're starting to talk about this team being so deep. If they're all on their game and you're rolling them, like, how are you supposed to beat them or match lines? Like, that's the formula. And hell, it can look like that with Easton Cowan on the top line. It really can.
Oh, this should be money in the bank if this holds up and Cowan's the guy who plays in that line. But I just think this is going to be a storyline all season long. I think there's going to be a point in time where they bring in a top 6 player. And as much as I want this to be a thing, I'm very curious to see what Cowan looks like in game 5, 15, 25. Like we just talked about off the top of the show, it's a long season. I think he's going to have a really good, solid year. But it was not too long ago, like 2 weeks ago or even a week ago, we were talking about, will Cowan play 41 games in the NHL, And now we're sitting here and being like, he's going to ride with Matthews and Nyes the entire season.
Yeah.
It just, I don't know. We're happy with.
It's the rise and the fall and the ride the wave.
Yeah.
And I had to take or leave it. And I said, well, I have no reason to say no other than it's unlikely and improbable. And like you said, 2 weeks ago, we're talking about him even being in the league. But after 2 games of being there, people don't care how old you are, how much experience you have. If you're making the team better, and if you're taking the bull by the horns with your opportunity, again, if he continues to play like that, he could ride it all the way to the end. Can a kid do that? Yet to be seen.
I want to clarify, because I know Schenner's got people on social media for him. I was not taking a shot at Luke Schenn. I know Zach Phillips writing in our group chat that I was taking a shot at Luke Schenn. He chose to for Nashville for a variety of reasons. So I just wanted to clarify that. I love Luke Schenn. I think he's a good player. I know he was pissed that one time I said he's probably going to leave the lineup, but I tried to tell him why I felt that way. But I just want to make that abundantly clear.
He wasn't happy with you. No, I remember that firmly. He's like, he wanted to go back to Toronto for a second tour. He wanted to go back for a third tour. He really likes playing for Toronto. It was simply like he didn't sign with Nashville because he's like, Toronto, can you get anywhere close to this? And they were like, we can't. And it was like bare minimum, bare bones. And he's like, well, I just simply can't take a $2 million haircut, and he went to Nashville. So simple as that. And again, anyone listening would do the same thing. But Schenner has been very happy playing for the Maple Leafs and would do it again if he had the opportunity.
My apologies for lumping him in with the likes of Ryan O'Reilly. Okay, I digress. I love Luke Schenn. It's time now for the last call, brought to you by Bet365. Whatever your bet is, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Download the app and get in on the game. Use code NATION. That's NATION. NATION, must be 19 or older, Ontario only. Please play responsibly if you or someone you know has a gambling problem. Visit ConnexOntario.ca. 4-game slate in the NHL. You know, I was looking earlier on. I wasn't crazy about the card. You got Ottawa coming off the Tkachuk injury news. They're playing Buffalo. Could that be a trap game? Chicago, St. Louis. I think I took the over in Calgary, Utah. I know Devin Cooley, the backup's actually playing a game. So that's what I'm going to ride with on the show today. Mammoth Flames over 5.5.
I see. I got Florida, Detroit here. I'm going to take Florida on the puck line plus 180. Are you kidding me? I would like to see Detroit go down, as they pissed me off and ruined my Thanksgiving weekend. So going to take that heavy plus money on the Big Cats, as even without Barkov, I think they're pretty solid.
Yeah, man, they just win and win and win, but then they lose to Philadelphia the other day. It shows you the NHL. Anything can happen on any given day. So with that, we're going to send you off to Italia. You're going to be back tomorrow in Rome, right?
Yes, that is the plan. I have had something planned since the spring, and yes, I couldn't really time it any differently with the children and the life and the everything else, but I'm still going to be doing Leafs Morning Take. And tomorrow I should be in Roma, and I hope that the internet connection is solid, which apparently it is. So fingies crossed for sure, but yeah, you're going to have a little different look to me tomorrow.
Love it. Great stuff. The Leafs back on a winning note, which is great to see. They're getting ready to continue on this homestand. They're facing the New York Rangers, who can't score a goal on home ice, but rest assured they'll be horny. Igor Shesterkin is playing out of his mind right now. I think maybe justifying that contract. It's like 1 goal a game for that guy. So it should be a fun goalie duel at Scotiabank on Thursday between Stolarz and Igor Shesterkin. So we'll break that game down coming up tomorrow. Get set for that one. Also coming up over the weekend, the Seattle Kraken in town. So thank you to Hal Gill for dropping by the show. Everybody in the chat, you guys are fantastic as per usual. I know a couple people are giving some heat to Skillsy for his thought on the market of Toronto a bit. People have been fired up. This one guy calling it the worst guest we've ever had in the show's history. It's pretty deep.
Wow. What's with that? Yeah. That seems unprovoked. What did he say? Just let
me find this. Barry C says, Hal Gill. Right? Can I read this message? Should I?
Yes.
Barry C. Hal Gill is the worst guest this show has ever had. He was a cowardly, whiny player and is still blaming the fans of Toronto. Toronto is the best fan base in any sport. Quit bashing Toronto fans.
Passion. The passion unites us all. Very passionate there, fella. I like it. Yeah, I didn't take what he said as being that aggressively absurd. But, again, you cannot doubt the passion of the Maple Leafs fans. That is both it can be their Achilles heel sometimes, and it can also be the greatest thing ever, which is why someone just needs to bloody win in that town, and you will see how good those fans are.
All right, my man, but he did bring up must-win. Zach Phillips was saying it was a must-win for the Leafs, so obviously Skillsy's got a hold on the narrative in this market, at least. He knows.
Well, I mean, unfortunately, it feels like that after some dog shit games against the Detroit Red Wings. But life goes on, and they got the W, and all things are back to A-OK right now.
All right, my man. Safe travels at the Leafs Nation 401. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Leafs Morning Take wherever you find your podcast. Make sure to leave us a 5-star review. And don't forget to visit theleafsnation.com. Thank you to producer Vic. For Jay Rosehill, I'm Nick Alberga. We'll talk on Thursday. Take care, everybody. Make sure to check out more of our content right here on the Leafs Nation YouTube page. We got long-form interviews. We got clips. We got epic rants by Jay Rosehill. We simply have it all. And don't forget, you can find out much more at theleafsnation.com. Thanks so much for watching.